Okay, I'd like to start this video, or prefix this video, by saying that I quite like Owen Benjamin. I've watched him over the years. I've watched him on Louder or Crowder. I enjoy his musical talent, his comedy talent, and his musical comedy talent. I also enjoy watching his videos where he seems to sit in his back garden, like this one, or in his shed. I wouldn't say his shed, maybe like an outhouse that he has. And he sometimes rants for an hour or so about different topics, mainly about Jewish people. But he also has a penchant for the flat earth. And unlike most flat earthers out there, he's... I want to say he's on the edge, but I don't think he is. I think... he kind of questions it a little bit, and he does have some questions that you'll hear him in a minute ask. But I think he's on that turning point where he actually believes in the flat earth, and he just wants these last little things he doesn't understand ironed out. Anyway, let's watch this video.
And me and DITR Dearth, the flat earth guy, we've been texting. We're doing the stream this week. He's an awesome guy, so that's happening. The Down the Rabbit Hole dude. So we will we're gonna have a conversation about what I'm the most interested in is the world we live in, where people just the deceptions of the world and how people get to that conclusion and all that, because I can't stand when people talk to flat earth people and they try to humiliate them and be like, you're so fucking dumb, look at you thinking the earth is flat, you're so stupid and I'm so smart, when in reality there's a lot of really weird things about the shape of the earth. But one thing that makes me think the earth is a sphere is ham radio, how they bounce signals, how that works seems to be very spherical. So I'd like to get some info on that, but it's not one of these debate or agreement, it's just a chat. This is one of those topics where people are like, oh, you're gonna debate, you're gonna get all fucking destroyed. I'm like, well, I also have some questions about the shape of the earth and how satellites never seem to break or hit any space debris, and there's like thousands of them, and there's never any issues. We never see them collide and fall to the earth, and there's like 10,000 of them, and they never go out. And there's space junk everywhere going thousands of miles a second, which is way stronger than any bullet, and you can't possibly track it. Why is that? Like stuff like that. Like, I'm an inquisitive guy.
I think it's quite apt that on his screen he just had a ship, and I can see there's one up in the distance there, because normally it's kind of the argument I make is there's something like 4,000, 5,000 satellites. Hold on. Okay. There's 4,857 satellites in space at the moment. And it's pretty much everywhere you look. How many satellites in space? 4,987, 4,857. Obviously, when you look at it, blah, blah, blah. Satellites in space. So I've never looked this up before. I thought there would have been more. But anyway, it seems like the answer is 4,057. So, how many ships are there? This will make sense in a moment in the sea. Around 53,000 merchant ships. And that's not including, speedboats and small boats and personal yachts. Maybe, I don't know. Let's just say 70,000, maybe? Okay, so this is going back to what he was saying about the satellites. Why there's thousands of satellites, they're not crashing into each other, they're not burning up, they're always there. Well, they're not always there because, I think there's about 2,000, 3,000. Actually, there's more than that. There's about 4,000 satellites that are now inactive and that have crashed back down to the Earth. So that's wrong thing to say. So the argument I normally give to people when they give me this argument about satellites is because they've seen imagery. And let's have a look. So how many? Let's put images. Oh no, I'm on the wrong one. I really needed to be on satellites. Okay, you see images like this one here. So we've got images. Okay, and you see the Earth covered with satellites. Satellites everywhere. Look how many satellites there are. But if these satellites were to scale, which obviously they're not, they would all be the size of, like, I don't know, a small country. They'd be the size of, like, Wales or something. You know, every single one of them. Or you know, I don't know. I'm trying to think for our American people here. Maybe the size of, like, New York, Manhattan Island, each one. Maybe even bigger. I mean, they would be massive. So if you actually took a photograph from outer space, you wouldn't look anything like that. You wouldn't even see that. Because they're tiny. The biggest ones are the size of cars, I think. So a lot of people, when they talk about, you know, satellites, they think about images like this, and they think, oh, why are they all crashing into each other? Well, if we think about going back to how many ships there are, okay, there's 53,000 ships. Now, they're just going around. The oceans take up about 2/3 of the planet. So, or the oceans and the seas and, you know, water, you know, makes up 2/3 of the planet. So these 53,000 ships just going around Earth, they're not crashing into each other. I mean, most of these ships, I bet, they're out at sea and they don't see any other ships. The only other time you probably see ships is in shipping lanes, you know, like the English Channel and stuff like that, and the Straits of Gibraltar. I don't know, the Bering Straits. You'd probably, because it's like a small area and lots of ships are channeling through it. But within the oceans and out in the seas and the oceans, well, mainly the oceans, all these ships, 53,000, you probably never see another one. And the fact they're going to crash into each other, probably never. And then let's take all these little boats and, you know, yachts and speedboats, and let's call them all the other little bits of particles and stuff that are floating around in space. I don't know how many there are, maybe 100,000 or something like that. Not boats, but I mean these little particles. I mean, they're just not, you put them out in such a large plane, they're not crashing into each other, are they? They don't even see each other because it's such a massive, like the Earth is huge. I mean, like the area of the Earth is like 320 million miles. The diameter is like 8,000 miles. The circumference is like 25,000 miles. I mean, you wouldn't expect these ships to crash into each other, and they don't. So when you talk about satellites, you know, they're in like geostationary orbit or in mid-Earth orbit or low Earth orbit, you know. So, you know, you've got all this massive area of... I'm going to have to go to my bloody Photoshop. Let me go to Photoshop and show you. Right, so in Photoshop, okay, so let me see if I can draw Earth. A wibbly-wobbly Earth. Let's draw some continents. This is now officially Earth. Okay, so I want to make an analogy between satellites and ships. So the diameter of the Earth, because when I tilt, let's do it like that, is about 8,000 miles. 8,000 miles. Let me just shut down. Okay, 8,000 miles. So that's the diameter. The circumference is about, I think it's about 25,000 miles. Excuse the handwriting. So, on the Earth, we have 53, let me get over here, 53,000 ships. And in space, there's around 5,000 satellites. There's around 5,000 satellites. Now on Earth, when the ships are going around, go back up. When the ships are going around here in this area, so the oceans make up 2/3 of the Earth. With 53,000 ships going around the Earth, when they're in the oceans, they don't even see each other. They don't even know. I mean, that's why it's so dangerous. ships only really see each other when they go through like shipping lanes, or they're coming close to ports, like the English Channel. I don't know, the Bering Straits. I don't know if that's really busy or not up by Russia, but so the Bering Straits, English Channel, or the Straits of Gibraltar. Places like that. That's where ships, have to be careful. Or see up there at Panama as well, the canal. But out in the oceans, they don't even see each other. It's very rare they see each other. And that's with 53,000 of them out there. So with satellites, so let me get my little pen back. See if it's going to give me, no, it's going to be a bugger. Right, let me get my little pen back. Right, so satellites are up here somewhere, and they're on 3 different planes. And I'm not going to be very good at drawing these planes. But let's just say there's 3 different planes. And you see you've got low, so these are called orbital planes. And let me get my mouse back so you can see. So in these orbital planes, you have low, medium, and high. And high is roughly around about where geostationary orbit is. Up there. Okay? So 5,000 satellites. So what's the diameter from... What do we think the diameter then? Again, I'm not going to work this out. I just think we're going to have a look at it. What would be the diameter from here, to here? What would be the area of this? What is the circumference? This means you have to use pi or whatever to work that out. But this is a massive area with 40,000 kilometers between here and here. Between here and here. 40,000 km. Jump around from kilometers to miles. What's that, around about 23,000 miles? So the point I'm trying to make is there's a hell of a lot of space up here. There's so much, so here's the Earth. We've got 53,000 ships and all the little boats and yachts and everything else. We can call that all the little bits of debris, 10,000 or so, 20,000, 30,000, I don't know, 100,000 bits of debris. I don't know how many little boats are there. But so 53,000 ships, then all the boats and yachts and speedboats and all that lot, okay? And when you're out in the oceans, they don't see each other. There's such a vast area for ships to crash into each other in the oceans. It's just ridiculous. It's silly. So the same as satellites. So to imagine that these 5,000 or so satellites that are in these massive areas, so it's in a 40,000 kilometer plane that they go around in. There's the area of the Earth is 510 million kilometers squared. So what's that? 500 million, 200 to 300 million kilometers squared, maybe more. I don't know. I just want you to see the logic behind this. So satellites do and have crashed into each other. There was a crash, I think, in 2009. They kind of say it's probably every 10 years. But they say this crash is like it's a 1 in a million. It's like it's the equivalent of shooting a bullet out of the air with a gun, or 2 bullets hitting each other. It's that difficult. So in geostationary orbit, which is up here, they're all at the same height, so they're all going at the same speed, and they're separated probably by hundreds of thousands of miles, the satellites that is. They're all separated. So you've got one satellite here, for example. Okay, so let's go back to... We've got a satellite here, for example, and one here. They're separated by hundreds of miles, and they're going at exactly the same speed. So they're never going to catch up with each other. They're never going to crash into each other. It does happen, with satellites. I think the crash that happened, I think one was going this way, and one was going this way, and somehow, the paths met and they crashed into each other. Look at how messy that is now. Maybe I should take that away. So I'm just trying to say that up here, get my pen back. Up here, there is a lot of space. And not a lot of satellites. On the Earth, and satellites are roughly the size of cars, maybe buses, I don't know. I think probably, let's say the size of buses. So there's 5,000 of these things, the size of buses. And then we've got ships that can be the size of small towns. 53,000 of them, and they don't even see each other when they're out there. I mean, every now and again they might pass each other, but it's for two ships to crash into each other in the ocean is almost impossible. So the point I'm just trying to make here, and to you, Mr. Benjamin, is 5,000 satellites in such a massive area of space, hundreds of millions, maybe 200, 300 million kilometers in area. Anyway, that's that. Have I got anything else to say? And just the last thing on this is that there's probably been about 9,000 satellites put up into space, or objects. There's only 5,000 there now, which means that nearly half of them have died and come back to Earth. They're put normally into what's called a dead zone, which is a decaying orbit, so they will eventually burn up in the atmosphere, and what's left of them will hopefully hit the oceans. So yes, they do break, Mr. Benjamin, and they do come to the end of their life. And that's not even to mention planes. At peak times, there could be anything like 9,000 planes up in the air at any given time. And they're not crashing into each other. Now, I know they're intelligently controlled, but they're tracked just like satellites. There's nearly double the amount of planes at any given time than there are satellites. And yes, they are under intelligent human control, but so are satellites. They're under AI, and then if anything needs to be done, then a human comes in and makes adjustments. Maybe I should have made a plane analogy rather than a ship analogy. Oh well, let's carry on.
And so that's why flat earth people, I don't find them to be stupid at all. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was something legitimately nefarious going on with our current model of the universe. I mean, obviously it's not what they say it is. But I love conversations like that. But people are always trying to be like, oh, sir, you're either going to humiliate him and he's going to look stupid, or you're going to look stupid, or you guys are just going to fucking say all the stupid shit. It's like, dude, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. Fascinating. Because people get so mad. There's so much around this because people are like, well, you know, it's called the bending of light. You know, you're always talking about the water when the ship and the fucking curvature, and try doing that on land, faggot. It's like, yeah, it's called the salt flats, and where is that? Ecuador or Venezuela? You can see like 150 miles with no curve. I'm not saying the earth is flat. I'm just saying that's fascinating. They're like, well, I mean, try doing that. Try doing that on the moon, faggot. It's like, dude, try just talking about something and not being terrified all the time. How does that sound? How does it sound to just, you know, not assume? When people are like, they're these experts on light bending, it's like, you don't even know if it's a wave or a particle. It's both. It can't be. It can't be both a wave and a particle. A particle and a wave cannot simultaneously exist. A photon and a wave can't both exist. So when people say the frequency of infrared versus ultraviolet and all that, that means energy is transferring through a medium. If you ever see a wave with water, the water doesn't move. It's the energy moves. That's how a wave works. A medium vibrates, zip. A photon is like a bullet. It's a particle. And that's the only way they can explain traveling through a vacuum, because they didn't think that one through. It can't be a wave and a particle. That's like a vegan meat eater. Those are two things that can't. So how could it be a wave and a particle? And then they go, well, you're not smart enough to understand. Someone just said light's a string. Right. I'm not saying what isn't. I'm
Okay, wave particle duality. Quantum physics. It's the freaky nature of it that we don't really understand. That's the whole point. But observation tells us through things like a double slit experiment that there is a wave particle duality. Again, I might be wrong here, but this is off from the top of my head. That, yeah, it's just a weirdness. It's the whole thing about the physical laws that govern the very, very small, the subatomic, and there are laws that govern the very, very big. So things that happen at the very, very small, the photonic level, or the electrons, stuff like that, and the way they act is not the same as the way things act when they're sized up, when something's got lots of electrons in it, for example. So one electron does act differently at a subatomic level than it does when it's, when it's paired up and when it's in an atom and it's part of a bigger thing. I mean, it doesn't do these freaky things. There's no, duality in the particle. So yeah, you're saying here, Benjamin, that it doesn't happen. Well, it's observed to happen, and yeah, they might be wrong, but they keep trying to do experiments to try and prove themselves wrong. Like the quantum erasure experiment, for an example. And yeah, so yeah, it's freaky and it's weird, and I don't even think the scientists who observe it know what they're looking at. But anyway, so let's crack on.
What isn't? I'm fascinated by this stuff, and I just find that world to be interesting. It could all be a psyop. It could all be bullshit. It could be a way to discredit a valid conspiracy.
And what he's about to say here, the psyop thing. When I first heard about the flat Earth, this is what I thought. I thought, because some of my friends who are conspiracy theorists, and I respected them, I thought that, they come up with some good shit. And now they're coming to me with this flat Earth thing. And here's something. They all said the same thing. They all said, "Oh, John, I found this. I looked at it. I thought it was silly. I thought it was stupid. And then I tried to disprove it, and I couldn't." And I was like, why are you all saying the same thing? And I was watching a flat Earth the other day. I can't remember who it was. And he said, he started off the conversation. I think it's actually someone Owen Benjamin interviewed. Saying exactly that. And I'm like, why do you all say the same thing? Why do you all start off with, I tried, I thought it was stupid, I thought it was silly, I tried to disprove it and I couldn't. It's because what you're trying to say there is that in the very beginning, I applied the scientific method. I tried to disprove it and I couldn't. Okay? But if you're just doing this from sitting at your computer at home and you're only looking to prove your biases, so you're not really looking at people, you're not watching videos disproving it. Now, I can't tell you what these people have been watching and not watching, but really, if you want to disprove, if you want to say, I tried my best to disprove it, you got to show me a bunch of videos or a bunch of research that you watch, which is all about disproving the subject. And Owen Benjamin goes on a lot about, no one gives any reasons. They'll just go, they're like liberals and lefties when you try and ask them what they hate about Trump. Oh, everything. And they go, but what precisely? Oh, there's too much to mention. Well, if there's too much to mention, just give us one thing then. And they go, I don't know. And so he's trying to say that we're like that. And it's like, well, I've watched many videos on the internet, people debunking flat Earth. And they're not just going, you fucking idiots. They're not just going, you're stupid. They're coming out with science, and they're coming out with, well-researched subjects. So, yeah, anyway, I've lost my train of thought.
Conspiracy theories. I don't think so. I think there's way too many things about it that are fucking insane, where it's not one of those hiding in plain sight psyop things, where it's like it's meant to discredit. I've been wrong many times in my life, but I can usually spot those red herring type things where they're trying to pull you away, with the it's called the prestige and magic, where you guys get it. I don't feel that that's it. All right, guys, hit the Rogans up. Owen, dude, modern engineering wouldn't work if the world was flat. People always say that, but they never.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that with this whole thing, the people who seem to believe in it, because it seems to tick all the boxes of like what conspiracy theorists love. It ticks all the boxes, finding out something that nobody else knows. Everyone's ignorant to it, and you have to go and teach them about it, or do this sort of mind magic that amazes them when you tell them about all this information that you've got. And I used to say, well, it sounds to me like, it's like, if all these people believe in this flat Earth thing, and then say you do come up with an amazing conspiracy theory, say you do hit the nail on the head, as it were, and you find something out, everyone on the mainstream media, the papers, they could just debunk you, or not debunk you, you know what I mean? But what am I looking for here? They could basically just call you an idiot and say, well, look, he believes in flat Earth. Watch these videos. Read this, what he said about it. How can we believe someone who believes in flat Earth has come up with something like this? So yeah, what I wanted to say was it's like a CIA psyop. It's like they've gone, right, we can get all these conspiracy theorists to believe in this absolutely ridiculous thing, and then if they ever do come up with something, we can discredit them and say, look, he believes in the flat Earth. But yeah, I agree with Owen here.
Give me any examples. None. They always go, well, there's all the scientific evidence. There's pages and thousands of years. And then I always say, like, what? And they always go, well, all of it. Every bit of it. I'm like, how does a satellite not ever break
Satellites do break. More than half of them that have ever gone up there have broken. That's a silly comment to make, Owen. Silly, silly, silly.
Thousands of satellites spinning for years and years and years with space junk, and you never see them. They never break. No one's ever like, well, the satellite broke, so we don't have internet today. Never happens. How is that possible?
Okay, Hubble telescope broke, and they sent astronauts up there to go and fix it. So there's one example.
How is that possible? Well, I mean, Big Bear, you wouldn't. There's so many things that are bizarre. Why is the sun and the moon the exact same size in the sky, even though they're 400 times different in size?
That's laughable.
I mean, the odds they're exactly the same size is insane.
What a silly question to ask.
That doesn't make any sense. And then NASA has already lied to us about the moon landing. That is a fact. So we can't just believe them. They're liars. And the image of globe Earth has been photoshopped. I've seen interviews with the guy who did it. He brags about it. He brags about how it's a composite image. And of course he has to manipulate it and change it, because there's no way to just show an image of the Earth from a satellite. There's no images of Earth from the satellites. None. They're all...
Right, this one, again, this proves to me you haven't gone and watched videos where people are debunking this stuff. Because there must be, I don't know, I would even say 1,000 videos out there explaining this, Owen. At least 1,000. Not to go down the line of optics and being able to focus on certain areas at the same time. I mean, again, I'm doing this video off the top of my head here, so I don't want to go away and research lots of stuff. I just thought it would be fun, just from what I have in my mind, to respond back to you. But, yeah, anyway, let's carry on.
None. They're all artist renditions. But no engineering would work. That isn't true. Ham radio is one of those things that I need explained. Ham radio seems to require a sphere Earth. And I hunt these things down, guys. Hunt. You know, people will be like, well, then how the fuck does this thing work? And I'll look through, I'll analyze it. And there is ways that it would work on a flat Earth. Like all these towers. Why do you think you get no reception in the middle of a desert and then you get reception when you're near a city? If it was satellites, it would be grids and it would not care if you were in a desert or in a city. It's because of towers. Towers, guys. Towers give you reception.
Okay, Owen, but who's arguing this point? Who thinks that the mobile phones come from satellites? I mean, the whole triangulation thing, triangulation of towers to give you a location. I mean, the way the phone works out where the strongest signal is coming from. I mean, that's why satellite phones are called satellite phones. And mobile phones are called mobile phones, or cell phones, we call them in America. But they work on cell phone towers. We all know this. No one thinks a phone works on a satellite, as far as I know anyway.
Reception. So if it was satellites, why would it matter if you were near a large population or not? Why would there be these dead spots? Because it's topographical from towers. I'm not saying the world is flat. I'm just saying that doesn't compute. Ham radio, AM radio, you know, these things seem to bounce around a sphere. But this is what I think is interesting. And yeah, someone could say that's the firmament, that's the dome around, and then people that just react like everyone's stupid, it's an insult to me personally. When people are like, man, how could you even listen to these fucking morons? I'm like, your IQ is 90, mine's way higher. So just know that it's not stupid to wonder how all this shit works.
And here again, I agree with you, Owen. It's not stupid to wonder how all this stuff works, and it's not silly in the sense, I think I heard someone say it, so I don't know where I came up with it myself, but it's one of these things. In a way, flat earthers are like the original scientists. It's like they're starting from zero. They're going, all right, we don't believe anything that's going on that we've been taught, so we're going to go back to zero and try and figure this out. So in a way, they're like the original scientists, the original inquisitors of, you know, what's going on around us. But this path's already been trodden, and that's the silly thing about it. And you're right, yeah, you shouldn't just be calling people idiots and names and calling them stupid. If you want to come in and argue on this flat Earth thing, or any situation, or have an argument with anyone, I mean, name calling or ad hominem is it means you've lost the argument, in my opinion. You start calling someone names, there's no point even arguing. You should not try and discuss topics like these with name calling. If you do, you've lost. Okay? He's right. He's correct on this point.
And why there is issues with a lot of it. There is. And it could be that the general population simply doesn't know a lot of shit because we weren't taught it in school. That's a possibility. A possibility is our educations are so fucking bad that we can't, because I can't put it together. So I know a lot of these people calling flat earthers stupid are full of shit. I had public education, brain destruction, schooling, but I also had really smart parents that taught me at home. I did a lot of learning on my own. I had piano, I had a lot of logos. I can't put together how this works, how satellites work, how space works, how a plane isn't affected by the spin of the Earth, and yet people say, "Oh, it's all because it's in a contained thing." No, it isn't. When a plane is 30,000 feet off the ground, it's not even in the atmosphere. There's so little atmosphere that it doesn't get sucked into an infinite vacuum. There's so little. Like, even when you're on a moving bus and you jump up and down or walk, you still feel movement. If we're spinning 1,000 miles an hour and a plane going east to west isn't affected by the spin of the Earth, that doesn't make any sense to me. The satellite situation makes no sense to me. The images of the...
Okay, just off the top of my head then, how would I argue this? Well, I would say, yeah, that means we're in the atmosphere and we're moving in the atmosphere almost like, I think, like fluid dynamics almost. Like, that, the atmosphere is like a fluid. And so we move within the atmosphere. And so, the other thing is the Earth is so big, man. I mean, yeah, it's spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, but you wouldn't feel that because it's so massive. It's so huge. I mean, that's something I can say to this, but you wouldn't feel it on... God.
The images of the sun and the moon and how they both are on a 24-hour... Like, they both move at the same speed. The odds of that are so low, it doesn't make sense. And so it could be my lack of education, literally. There could be things that I'm missing. But the people saying, you're all a bunch of fucking idiots, I know they don't know. One thing I do know is the people that spiral. Like, the way Vox Day reacts is the accurate way of a skeptic, a flat earther. He's like, maybe, I highly doubt it, but maybe.
That's your accepted way. I highly doubt it, but maybe. That's no. I mean, really, if you want to learn anything, you've got to, or if you've got an idea like this, you've got to debate it out with people. You can't just have them agreeing with you or just go, "Oh, I don't know, but, whatever, all right, mate, whatever you say." That's basically what you're saying. No, have someone, like I say to my son all the time, if you want to get better at chess, you don't play people who you can beat, or you don't play someone as good as you play people better than you. If you're a boxer and you want to get better, you fight people better than you. You don't fight people on par or lesser than you. You fight people better than you. That's how you get better. If you want to understand more, Owen, go up against people who know, who are not going to just agree with you and go, "Oh, well, maybe, I don't know," whatever you say like that. Go up against people who are vehemently against you and who make good points.
99% sure he thinks the world is absolutely a sphere, but he would never be like, "You fucking morons." He's like, "Well, that would be interesting." Because, like, to say there's no chance when you understand the level of deception that people have done to the world, the means, motive, and opportunity are all there. And the fact that there is no cohesive image that science has given us of the universe. Dark matter and dark energy make no sense. 90% of the universe is something...
Do you realize what you're asking there? Do you honestly... No scientist has given an accurate map of the universe, or whatever you said. Something similar to that. I'm paraphrasing. The universe. Something that may be infinite, or at least we know 14.5 billion light years to the event horizon. Right? So, there's a little man on this planet, and us men here, and we can't, and there's not one man who's accurately mapped the universe. Something that we go, that's such a stupid statement. All right, I'm sorry about that, Owen. I didn't mean to say that's such a stupid statement.
90% of the universe is something you can't see or feel or register or have any way of measuring. 90% of all the matter and energy. It's just trust us. Gravity is immeasurable. You can't detect gravity on the smallest level of very dense objects, which doesn't make sense. There should be an ability to have very, very tiny dust particles get attached based on gravity that can't be measured. It's because it's so weak of a force that it can't be measured anywhere except in large celestial bodies based on the heliocentric model of the solar system. So when people say that this is all stupid, they're
So basically what Owen's saying here is that because some of the hardest questions in the world or in the universe, you want to put it, haven't been definitively answered, then there's a gap. And the gap here is the flat Earth.
We can't replicate a vacuum on Earth. Not only does a spacesuit not work in a vacuum, we can't even replicate it. Why do you think that all the NASA videos are from...
What? Can't replicate a vacuum? Wait a goddamn minute. Mythbusters, hammer and feather inside a vacuum.
Out his famous test to prove Galileo's hypothesis that all objects are affected equally by Chudfop. They're working with a vacuum, carrying...
So this video they're going to go and replicate the drop in the hammer and feather in a vacuum.
Atmospheric pressure in 3, 2, 1.
Cool. The hammer hit first. Perfect.
So the laws of physics still apply. I dropped the hammer and the feather at atmospheric pressure exactly at the same time. Hammer hit first, feather glided down and hit last.
So after the air is removed from the chamber, Carrie is ready to repeat the drop.
In 3, 2, 1.
Wow! That is so cool.
Yep, when there's no air resistance or drag, all objects are...
Okay, that's interesting, isn't it?
Gravity and fall at the same
Atmospheric pressure, vacuum.
have a vacuum.
Astronauts in a vacuum chamber.
Next, you would take your O2 actuator IV and then start a timer. Can you give us a mark on the O2 actuator? All right, stand by.
Interesting, isn't it? Spacesuit training in a vacuum chamber at NASA Johnson. Oh, 360 view. Oh.
All right, so
Can have fun with this.
weight check, manual weight check, because the ship's mode
Look at these people.
where the weight check is not
Okay.
rules apply. Moving around during a weight check could cause fluctuations that result in
That's cool.
failed weight check.
Leak check.
Once the 1 minute timer check
She looks interesting. She looks a bit nervous. I hope they're not looking at me. Look at her. She's looking straight at the camera all the time. That was cool. Okay. Okay.
Can't even replicate it. Why do you think that all the NASA videos are from underwater? That's the opposite of a vacuum. A vacuum would pull it out. A vacuum with a normal space...
Okay, they're not testing the spacesuits underwater to see if they can survive in a vacuum. That's for the zero gravity sort of training, isn't it? What?
A normal spacesuit would be ripped apart like that, and anything inside would die. Fact. The whole space program is bullshit. When you are replicating a vacuum with the pressure of water, that makes...
They're not replicating the vacuum with the pressure of water. They go into vacuum chambers like I just showed you to do that. In the water, they're trying to replicate zero gravity and working in zero gravity.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, it does make no sense if that's what you think.
And there's videos of the International Space Station where you can see bubbles. Fact. And so that's why I find this very, very interesting. That's it. But the ham radio shit doesn't seem to fit with flat Earth.
No, it doesn't, does it? It has to bounce off the ionosphere. Interesting.
And so I'm all about talking about it.
And you hear that word? Sphere. Oh, maybe I got too close there. Sphere.
But flat earthers, a lot of them act like they have rabies, like Savanye. Oh my God, Savanye! I have rabies. I'm gonna blow your mind. I'm gonna blow your mind with my rabies. I got rabies in my dick and my yoga pants. I'm gonna blow your mind. All right, guys, hit the Rogan Up button. If you want to support, join unauthorized.tv. Join.
All right, so, I mean, the thing about you is as I said before, I do like you. There isn't much I don't like about you. I like your resilience, standing up against the man. I like your music, like I said before. I think you're funny. I think you're intelligent. But I honestly, this is just my point of view, believe that you're going down the wrong rabbit hole here. And like science, well, not like science, but in science, it's all about disprovability. Can I disprove this? Okay, so with a ham radio thing, and you know you're going down the right path, but you need to start watching debunking video. You need to start watching the videos, because saying here things like, you know, there's I don't know where you were going, maybe you meant something else, but saying things like there's no such thing as a vacuum, or we can't recreate a vacuum on Earth is silly. I mean, everyone probably listening to this at school saw that at school, where you put the glass chamber and the vacuum chamber, you put the alarm clock in there, the alarm clock rings, and then you suck the air out with a vacuum cleaner, and you can no longer hear the alarm clock ringing. I mean, that's a vacuum. I mean, if it wasn't a vacuum, you would be able to hear the alarm clock ringing. I might be wrong here. You might be thinking about something else, but I just urge anybody who's looking at the flat Earth thing, if you get caught up, I understand getting caught up in conspiracy theories. I do it myself, and I mean, recently, when I say the Mandela effect, when I first looked into that, I was like, wow, shit, there's something going on here. Especially when I saw the scene from Moonraker with a girl from Jaws without the braces. But, you know, you get caught up in something, fair enough. Allow yourself to get caught up in it. But then go away and try and disprove it. You know, the Mandela effect is most definitely 100% just the way that we remember things in culture. Let me give you an example of this. So when they say, look, I am your father, and they go, oh my God, he says, no, I am your father. It's because throughout many movies and comedy sketches and whatnot, people have said, look, I am your father. If they said, no, I am your father, it probably wouldn't make much sense if it wasn't in, if initially the gag wasn't going towards Star Wars. But at this point, the gag normally is that he says, look, I am your father. So the Star Wars connection is made, and we all know what it is. And because that's been said over and over and over again, people believe, that was the actual line, when it wasn't, And the other one example, the Field of Dreams, build it and they will come. And in the film, I think they say, build it and he will come. Well, you can directly see where the cultural reference is when and I think it's Wayne's World 2, when they go to put on a pop concert, and Jim Morrison comes and he says, build it and they will come. And, if you were going to do something and like a website or something like that, or a friend was doing a website and you turn and they said, oh, do you think I should be doing it? And you could say to him, build it and they will come. If you said build it and he will come, it just doesn't work. Okay? So I think with this flat Earth thing, you need to get caught up in it, look at it, look at the conspiracy theory, understand looking at something and thinking, wow, cool, this might be something that no one's ever heard of, and this is the one, as it were. But you really got to look into the opposite side. You've really got to look into the debunking videos. I mean, a lot of this flat Earth stuff, I mean, looking at this, the way the sun and the earth moves, the way the sun and the moon moves around on a flat Earth, and it only lights half of it at any given point. But then if you look at the way that the sun's been thrown out to the left and to the right of the sun, it's getting thrown out for thousands of miles, but in front of it, it's getting thrown out hardly at all. So there's, I mean, also like someone lives if you lived I live in Britain, okay, I could look out and look and see what constellations of the stars are in the sky and look at what direction they're moving, from left to right or right to left to whatever. Let me think, how do they move? They sort of move, left to right in a sense, I think. Am I getting this right? Oh, it doesn't matter anyway. But say, and then I could say to someone in Australia tonight, look out your window. Tell me what constellations you see. Tell me what direction stars are moving in. Maybe just draw around a star on your window or something, and 2 stars, and then tell me which way they go. And I'll guarantee you that in Britain, if they're going from left to right, in Australia they'll be going from right to left. You know, and watch beneath the curve. Anyway, I think I'm ranting on too much. I wanted to challenge myself and just make a video without really doing research and just ramble on a bit like Owen does. I did have to look up, you know, the diameter of the Earth, and I had to look up how many satellites and how many ships there were. But apart from that, this has all just been just me ranting. So let's see what he has to say. Let's see the last little bit about Owen.
22 is great. It drowns out, and then people just jump in. They're like, but he's a madman and vile. You don't even see it. So it's kind of on me.
Okay, also, you just don't concentrate on those people. Concentrate on the people who are giving a good argument. All right. Another one in the bag.